Hi, I'm Noah and welcome to the Wildlife Rescue 101 film series. Today I'll be introducing you to some of my favourite native Australian animals, possums. There are around 30 possum species in Australia. The smallest is the little pygmy possum, which is found mainly in Tasmania and weighs just 7 grams. The largest is the common spotted cuscus, which inhabits the Cape York Peninsula and can reach up to 5 kilograms. Sadly, some possum populations are now in decline due to habitat loss and other human impacts, including encounters with domestic animals, predation by feral animals such as foxes and wild dogs, vehicle strikes, drought, and bushfires. This film will focus on the possums that visit our urban backyards most frequently, the common ringtail possum and the common brushtail possum, and outline the simple steps we can take to keep them safe and healthy. Common ringtail possums are smaller than brushtail possums. They love to eat the leaves, flowers, and fruits of local native plants, especially eucalypts. During the day, groups of ringtail possums sleep in a ball-shaped nest called a dray, which they build from sticks, leaves, and bark. They also utilize tree hollows and nest boxes. Common brushtail possums live in a wide variety of habitats throughout Australia. Their diet includes the leaves, bark, flowers and fruits of native plants. They also eat fungi, insects and birds' eggs. In their natural habitat, brushtail possums shelter during the day in the hollows of century-old trees. But extensive clearing of forests mean there are no longer enough tree hollows for them to find sanctuary. Common brushtail possums have had to adapt to this loss of habitat by sheltering in roof spaces, chimneys, garages and sheds.
We noticed we had a little friend in our roof, a possum, about 4 years ago. We heard him scratching around. Once we knew he was there, we kind of monitored his movements. In the afternoons, he'd come out, jump onto our little trellis there, and we'd have a look at him, check him out, and he'd just go and do his thing, go and eat, come back, and then we'd hear him in the morning scratching around, getting comfortable to settle down for the day and have a sleep.
One of the most common and distressing problems affecting brushtail possums is a skin condition known as dermatitis. This often originates from a bite or scratch from another possum during mating, territorial disputes, or fighting over food and shelter sites. The wound becomes infected, resulting in red inflamed lesions on the face or body. This can rapidly develop into a life-threatening infection, causing extensive tissue damage and even blindness.
It was pretty clear and evident that it was actually dermatitis just because of the size of the patch that was on the back of the possum. We noticed it up in underneath its leg.
So the resident was worried about his welfare. So one of our rescuers, Sarah, went out to rescue him, and he was given a full veterinary health assessment by the wildlife vets at Currumbin Wildlife Hospital. And yes, he did have dermatitis. Fortunately, it was caught in time before it got spread any worse. So he did have a few lesions on his forearms and a larger one at the base of his tail. So for the last 2 weeks, or almost 2 weeks, he's been on antibiotics and antiseptic cream as well.
They've told us exactly what the problem was with the possum, which they've named Brian, which we love. My uncle passed away over Christmas, so I named him after Brian, so after my uncle. So Brian the brushtail, and he suits it. He's like kind of a big boy. He's a 2.9 kilo adult male, so he's a big gentle boy, so it just suited him.
There are a number of ways we can help our local possums and live more harmoniously with them. If you find an injured possum, you should call your local wildlife rescue organisation for advice. If you have a resident possum that has signs of dermatitis, please report this to your local wildlife organisation as soon as possible.
If you've got resident possums and that hang around and you love observing them, that's fantastic, because if you're keeping a keen eye on them, it means that you'll notice something that doesn't look right. And a lot of the time it does start on their face, because if they're sort of having fisticuffs with another possum and they'll scratch them on the face.
Do not feed possums or give them access to compost bins, birdseed or pet and livestock food.
In the bush, there are possums that can get dermatitis. However, they've got a healthy system because they're eating native foliage and they're eating all the correct things that they should be. They're not eating this type of food, which they will eat because it's like lollies for possums. They will eat it because they love it, but it's really not good for them. If it is left too late, it becomes fatal.
If you find a deceased female possum, always check to see if there is a live joey inside the pouch. If there is, and you feel comfortable doing so, gently pick up the mother's body and wrap it in a towel before taking it to a wildlife hospital or vet. If the pouch is empty, but is extended in any way, look nearby in case a joey has moved away from its mother. Orphaned possums should be placed in a small towel, shirt or jumper and kept warm before driving to a wildlife hospital or vet. If it is not possible for you to transport the animal yourself, call your local wildlife rescue organisation immediately, any time of day or night. Orphan joeys require urgent attention from a vet or registered wildlife carer. Create homes for possums in your backyard or school grounds by making trays for ringtail possums and nest boxes for brushtail possums.
In the email there was sort of diagrams, there were photos and a lot of information in regards to how to build a box, where to position them. We've situated it pretty much in exactly the same position where he entered into the roof, so it should be a great spot for him, underneath the eave, out of the sun and out of the weather.
He's been a wonderful patient. He's been a pleasure to have. He's so easy. He eats all the beautiful leaf that I give him, so he's doing really, really well. And hopefully in another week or two he can go back home and he'll be much happier back in his home in the wild.
Possums are among Australia's best loved creatures and a familiar feature of our backyards at night. By looking out for them, we can ensure they have a healthy future. Thank you.